So we are live. How's it going tonight, everyone? Welcome to another TCP podcast. This is a TCP podcast, right?
Let's reminisce.
It's Let's Reminisce podcast. Okay, I'm already fucking up, as you can see. Top 5 creepiest moments. My name is BioDevil Dom, and why don't we get some of these other guests introduced? So we're gonna start off with Mr. Renegade Operative.
Hello, everyone, and monster tits are scary, so there you go.
Up next, we have our newest regular, Miss Scarberry. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Scarberry. Yeah, I'm not as into the horror games as the rest of these guys, but so I don't know if my selections will be tame or not, but we'll see.
Alrighty, and then another co-host, Mr. Captain Chaos.
What's going on, guys?
And last but not least, Mr. Brandon.
Hello. Unlike Renegade, I'm actually black.
I'm black too, you fucking asshole.
Shots
Yeah,
fired.
he's some Blackanese monster abomination.
Yeah. So I guess
Starting off salty.
Yeah, he's jealous.
Yeah, so I guess we can start off. So why don't we have Ren go on first, and then we'll just kind of work our way from there.
Okay. Number one is the mirror room from Silent Hill 3 because
You motherfucker!
yeah, that sequence, it's very, at first you don't know what's going on, considering the fact that you see it and then it starts like the blood starts like warping around the room, and then your character stands still in the mirror after she gets all bloody, and then afterwards it's like you don't know if you're gonna die, if you can escape. So it's a very creepy sequence, the way everything starts to really just form around the room in terms of the blood. So I thought that was really good. Next we have the giant head in the hospital from Silent Hill 4. Seeing this thing in the room, I was like, what the fuck is this? It was Eileen's head, and it had no purpose to anything other than the fact that it scared the bejesus out of me when I saw it.
Can I intervene for a second?
Oh, go ahead.
The head actually was apparently in the game. If you look at what was it, Eileen? If you look in her room enough, like it's kind of sort of pointing the finger at you for being like voyeuristic. So the point of that was like her looking back at you, sort of like.
Oh,
Why are her eyes so twitchy?
To be creepy, I guess.
She wants to watch you this time.
Yeah,
She's
pretty
having a
much.
seizure.
My next moment is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, when Nemesis jumps through the police station. This kind of got me good, and I think I peed a little bit when it happened, but
Don't worry about it. You probably weren't the only one.
but yeah, that moment really scared the shit out of me. I didn't expect it the first time around. I was used to Resident Evil at that point with the lickers crashing through the windows, but seeing Nemesis do that, he's a giant hulking beast. You wouldn't imagine seeing something like that, but they pulled that off rather nicely. I have a moment from The Last of Us. It's kind of a death, but it's the death that the bloater does, where he rips your face off. That got me the first time as well. And my last scariest moment was Abstract Daddy. The meaning of this monster is still sending like chills up my spine after all these years, finding out that was originally Angela's dad raping her, and the symbolism behind that.
Okay.
Yeah, the symbolism is pretty fucked up. So that is my top 5.
Yeah,
creepy
you mean the
moments.
room, the fucking room when you go in there and or the bed monster thing, whatever the fuck.
Even the walls look like they're having sex, which is pretty disgusting.
That's what was weird about it. And it was like, oh.
So that's my top 5. So I guess we can go down the list of the call. So Dom is next.
Alrighty, so for me, number 5 would have to be the first Resident Evil monster, whether it be the remake or the original PS1 version of Resident Evil 1. Just seeing that, like, one of the police members that apparently went missing with the rest of Bravo team, getting devoured by a man-looking creature, which is actually a zombie. That to me just kind of is creepy because the way that it turns and whatnot, and then it turns to you, and it's like, oh, it's fresh meat. It's time to dine for some dinner. So, well, while it's fresh, right? So I think that that was pretty creepy. Number 4 is the scene in Silent Hill 2 when you see when you see James hiding in the closet and he accidentally walks in on Pyramid Head going ham onto the 2 mannequins or whatever.
Oh, that's disturbing.
Yeah, he goes ham already.
Yeah. He was.
There's a lot of sexual symbolism in there.
I feel like that's become one of those iconic horror game moments, and it's like I hate myself that I can call it an iconic moment because it's so fucked up.
Yeah, and I think that part of the reason too, it's like it's a monster that's in the middle of just banging 2 mannequins, and you just walk in on them, and you're just like, what the fuck is this? Like how am I supposed to react to this? And the way that James portrays that scene and whatnot, his facial expressions and whatnot, it was just, it's a very creepy scene, and I think that's why it's one of my favorites. Number 3 would have to be it's from Bloodborne, the first DLC boss, Lawrence, because you hear so much about the character in the main game, and that he's supposed to be this excellent hunter within the Bloodborne lore, and then you see him and he's just this disfigured looking horse-like monster, and you're just wondering how could this have happened, and not going into too much lore and stuff like that, but it is a very creepy moment, just kind of seeing how what has become of him, and it kind of makes you imagine what he may have looked like before his whole monstrous transformation and whatnot. So that was number 3. Number 4 would probably have to be the first encounter with Rebone Laura in The Evil Within, because they're just walking down a hall, right? And all of a sudden this Bing, this multi-limbed Bing, comes out of a puddle of blood, and it just that's the worst thing that could happen. It's just a regular puddle of blood, maybe not even an inch, and all of a sudden just this big ass monster that's just screeching and whatnot is coming straight out of it and is ready to just kill you. So I think that was pretty creepy. And then my number 1 would have to be from Silent Hill 1, when you're playing as Harry, and you're just kind of going down this alleyway, and then all of a sudden it goes dark, and he lights a match, and as you're going down through this fenced off area, you see this body that's hung up by barbed wire, and it just hung up there, and it's just hanging in all this bloody and gory disgusting kind of mess. And from there, once that cutscene ends, you have all these little children with knives trying to kill you. I think that's a very creepy scene in that game. So those are
I remember that.
5. Yeah. So why don't we have Scarberry go next?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually surprised that nobody's mentioned the PT demo yet. Since everyone says it's so perfect. But my number 5 is I think a lot of people would probably pick the thing where the ghost is being all weird and twitchy and then rushes at you, but that's not what creeped me out the worst. It's the part where the radio tells you to look behind you. And I swear to God, I didn't move. So I was too afraid. So I don't know if anything actually happens or not if you did turn around, but I did not, because just the radio suddenly going, no, seriously, look behind you, freaked me out so bad.
I don't mean to interject, but I'm not sure if you know this, but there are times in that demo where I forget the name of the monster because she had a specific name,
right?
But she would.
It was your dead wife, I think.
They didn't confirm who the character was. If they had,
it was heavily implied, I believe.
Yeah, it was implied, but it also implied it was an epidemic thing. going
Yeah,
around. So I kind of got the
um,
feeling like it could have also been like you were the next one.
right.
Yeah.
Anyway, when that monster would kill you, though, what a lot of people didn't know was that actually, because it was a monster that at one point, was human and was pregnant, and that's why you see that like weird deformed fetus or whatever in the sink.
Deep voiced
She,
baby.
yeah, when she kills you, she pees on your corpse.
Yeah,
A lot of people did not know that.
So that's what that noise was.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that
All
due
right,
to
well,
the
I
fact
guess that would qualify as a creepy moment.
yeah, isn't that due to the fact that she broke her water and she was in labor? Isn't that
who
like
knows?
symbolism?
It may be.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, I thought it was weird too. Like, what the fuck? She takes a piss on you, but then I thought about it. I was like, oh, that must mean she broke her water and she's having the baby.
I thought the noises she made
thought
were
she was
creepier,
eating you.
honestly. Like, I mean, she looked creepy too, but the noises like that and just the noises and the way she moved, I was like,
The head twitching really gets me.
yeah.
What are you talking about?
We're talking about
PT.
PT, Silent Hills.
Oh yeah, that was cool. It's a good game. It's a
Hey,
good
Reapers.
demo. Scar.
We have Reapers being late.
Oh,
but
we're
it's
recording.
cool. Yeah, we're recording.
Yep.
Oops.
But Scar, continue because I think it was still your
All
turn.
right. Yeah. Although we may have skipped Brandon. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine.
Okay. My number 4 was the first Five Nights at Freddy's, but specifically Foxy. Not because it's necessarily like because jump scares get old. It's more before you figure out the mechanics of how that game works, and you just see him every time you look at his screen, he's just slowly coming out of the curtain. And when you haven't played the game enough to figure out how to either prevent that or what to do after that happens, so then suddenly you see that he's gone and you freak out looking for him. And if you see him sprinting down the hallway, it's already too late. But it was more just the impending doom feeling you get from kind of seeing him slowly creep out from behind his curtain. Freaked me right out. My number 3 is actually from a game that just came out 2 or 3 days ago called Camp Sunshine. And I'm pretty sure I've talked about it in the Discord group. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of it.
I've heard you talk about it.
Yeah. It's like okay, so it's a 16-bit game. Your kid that went to camp, and of course then all hell breaks loose and there's a camp mascot killer running around cutting everybody to bits and killing people with a giant knife. So my number 3 on this list is the first encounter I had with the bear, because I went inside one of the buildings. And I don't know who they got for the voice actor for the cues for when the bear is coming for you, but it's like this deep, scary voice. And I assumed that since the last time I had seen him outside, So I started running further into the building. Nope, he was right there. And he totally got me. But then he disappeared in this cloud of purple smoke. And I kept playing the game, and I figured out that during gameplay, you get one freebie. And then anytime he runs into you after that, he kills you. But at the time, I thought it was just a jump scare, but it completely got me. And I squealed, and you can hear my laryngitis. My voice cracked, so it was really bad. My number 2 is also from an indie horror game called White Knight. So I don't know if any of you guys know about that one either. Everybody's turning their mics off. Okay. No, in White Knight, it's literally black and white. The only color in the game is fire, but all the artwork is just plain black and white, except for the main monster in the game, which is a ghost that has shades of gray. And she's super creepy and twitchy, and she makes like really gross noises when she moves around. Well, my first encounter with her, where she was kind of hidden, laying in a corner. I got too close, and she screeches at you, and she skitters across the floor like a freaking spider at you, and you have to run away. And it was the last thing I was expecting, because I thought she was just going to grab you if you got too close. No, she runs after you, but on all fours, which is the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
That reminds me of The Exorcist.
Yeah, no, it's like that, and it was not what I was expecting at all. So it completely caught me off guard and got me real bad. And then my number 1, you guys know from talking to me that I am not a fan of zombies at all. Like, it's pretty much a phobia of mine.
And clowns.
Clowns are not so bad, but I dislike clowns. But zombies are more of a phobia. Great, Zombie Berry. Thanks, Brandon.
If you see a clown, beat the shit out of him.
Is that a real thing? Is that like there's a term for zombie phobia?
Yeah, but I don't remember what it is, and I've certainly never gotten diagnosed. But when I was younger, my little brother would want to play the Resident Evil games, especially when they got ported to the Nintendo 64. But he was too young to really be good at the puzzles, so I would sit and help him with the puzzles. And I remember that Resident Evil 2, the opening scene, just got me so bad with the zombie in the back of the cop car. And that's always kind of stuck with me. And I know that they've done that in like movies and stuff like that, and that's kind of become a zombie movie trope. But the fact that the zombie jumps from the backseat of the car really freaked me out and still stuck with me till now.
Oh, you mean Leon's brother?
Yeah.
He looks just like him.
He does look just like him.
I remember that. Oh my god.
But anyways, like the whole thing, she goes in the diner and gets cornered and turns around. There's the zombies against the window, and then she just happens to be rescued. And it's like, you're safe. You think you're gonna get a little bit of a like exposition to kind of fill in the gaps, and then nope, there's a zombie that pops up at you again.
Yeah,
scared the shit out of me. Not literally. Didn't scare the pee out of me either. Sorry, Ren. But so that's my top 5.
Yeah, I thought just a little introduction. I thought Claire's intro was a little bit more creepier with the fact that that's her first time. I know that was their first time in general, but her first time seeing that, seeing the diner storekeeper eating, yeah, that was not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
So I guess we can move on to the next one. Who's going next, Brandon?
Yeah, either Brandon or...
I could go next because I got a lot of background noise, so I'm not supposed to get over it now.
Alrighty.
Okay, number 5, although some of mine are horror games, but this one and the first Devil May Cry game, we first meet Angelo. Not his appearance, but the way he came, because he was first an image in the mirror. We first encounter him. He then the mirror, the reflection of Dante just turns around and look at you. I thought that was pretty creepy. And number 4 would be Killer Croc's and the whole stage area in Arkham Asylum, the first game. This idea of going around in a cavern, there's no way in, no way out, besides the one way, and having some mutated crocodile guy trying to kill you. Yeah, that was not fun. Number 3 would be the first encounter for Chris Walker in Outlast 1. Because you never expect some big brute with sharp teeth to come in and just toss you out the window, which somehow the guy survived. So yeah. And number 2 would have to be like the first Nemesis encounter or the surprise encounters, so like jumping out a window or just randomly jumping in front of you. Sometimes I actually do drop the controller even now because I never expected. Because sometimes I do take it a turn route and I never know what's coming.
Oh man, I peed in that moment.
Yeah, you're like me, where like sometimes you get too into the game when you go back to it and you forget like that there's a jump scare coming up, or you know it's coming up, but it still like somehow gets you.
Yep. Never forget the police station. Now, number 1 would be Rachel Foley when she becomes a monster. I don't know what the heck she is in Resident Evil Revelations 1. But the fact that her body just randomly disappeared, because I assume it was eaten.
She becomes a T-Abyss zombie
thing that can split her head open and suck your blood, yeah, that thing.
You mean the ooze monsters?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the nickname, but I don't remember the term, so now I know.
I think it's the T-Abyss zombies just because it uses the T-virus and the Abyss virus. It's like, you'd have to ask people that are more into the lore when it comes to that particular game.
But I remember, Cat, I'm looking at you.
I remember that was a thing in the file. There's a thing in the file for both files for both Revelations 1 and 2, where they take the T-virus and they like enhance it with another virus. And I remember specifically the virus in Revelations 1 is called the T-Abyss.
Yeah. And 1 and 2 is T-Phobos. The creepiest moment was when she just popped out in front of the window, and then you got start chasing after her. I didn't want to because, no, I didn't want to. That she was like faster and stronger than most of the ooze monsters. I'm like, heck no. Avoid that bitch at all costs. Well, yeah, that's my list. So.
Okay then. I guess I'll go next. Let's see. I guess like, I had some trouble numbering this because I wasn't sure like what was scary or like what was the most scary or creepy. But my number 5 is from a game that's actually not a horror game. Only one that's not a horror game on this list, by the way. So number 5 is the Siberia level from Time Splitters 2, and that I believe is actually the first level in Time Splitters 2. When you first get into the level, like just the music and the general atmosphere of it is just really, really kind of creepy. Like the music kind of sets this really creepy tone to it. And it's mostly when you get to the underground section, so like later on in the level, that it gets really weird because all of a sudden zombies, like you don't expect that they're like mostly you've been fighting humans up until that point, and then you go into the underground section and there are zombies.
It's weird.
It's completely out of nowhere. So it's like, I mean, if I were to play it as an adult, yeah, obviously I wouldn't be scared of it. But I played this game when I was maybe like, I want to say 11 or 12, or I was a kid when I played this. So it did freak me out a little bit. I was like, holy shit, that's creepy. Like I hated that level just because it was so freaky how just all of a sudden you're fighting these zombies and they're not like your typical zombies either. They're more like I don't know, that they look, the way they move, and they're a little bit faster, I believe, if I remember correctly, and they just look kind of not like your typical zombie, like a Resident Evil zombie or anything like that.
There's only certain models that are deformed, and
Yeah.
you see the first cutscene and you don't expect zombies. You just see the cutscenes. It's like, oh, that guy, yeah, he might be a zombie, but you're fighting humans, and then when you go in the underground, it's like, okay, the game just turned completely left here. So I understand.
Yeah,
what you're saying
although to be fair, the first Time Splitters did have zombies, but it was I don't know if I played it, but if you hadn't played the first Time Splitters, you would not expect that at all. So, but moving right along, the fourth one, I would have to say is the there's a scene in Condemned Criminal Origins where when you're investigating a crime scene and you find a locker and there's a dead body in it. You think the guy's dead, but like as you're investigating, he like grabs you and like just suddenly he's still alive, even though he looks like he's been like he's cut in half, his body's all fucked up. But he's still alive, and he like grabs you and like pulls you right up next to him or something. I'm not sure if that's how it happened, but it's something like that. He's still alive, and it's like, holy shit! It's the last thing you expect to happen. It's just a completely unexpected jump scare. That I mean, the game in general is kind of creepy, but that part in and of itself was probably the one that'll get you because you don't see it coming. Number 3. I'm gonna talk about Amnesia. I know some people don't like Amnesia, but the first time I played that game, like I said, scared the shit out of me. But the thing that scared me the most was, I think it was the choir room. It's near the end of the game, and basically what you do in this room is you collect the orb pieces to. I think you banish Alexander. You're trying to make an orb to banish, or it was either you're trying to get into the inner sanctum to banish Alexander or something. But what ends up happening is when you get into the choir room, basically most of the scares in this game when you're being chased by the monsters are like, if you get killed by the monster goes away. But when you go into the choir room, the monsters are still there. Like, even if you get killed, the monsters are still alive, and the monsters are wandering around the room. So you pretty much have to be stealthy about it. Like, you have to try to maneuver your way around the monsters and hope that they don't see you. And if you get near the monsters, you have to look away, because if you look at the monster, your sanity will drain and the monster will detect you. So you kind of just have to like turn your head and just kind of cower in the corner while the monsters like kind of go past you and hope that the monster doesn't see you and kill you. So that part, I think, was the most tense part of the entire game, because the monsters don't despawn after you get killed. You have to try to get around them. So I thought that was pretty freaky. I want to. Ren has already mentioned this, but number 2 would be the mirror scene from Silent Hill 3. When the mirror scene, it's pretty much described it, but I'll still talk about it. The mirror scene in Silent Hill 3 is when you are locked in a room, or you go into a room. It's in one of the levels in Silent Hill 3. There's nothing in the room except a large mirror, and I don't think there's anything else. I could be wrong, but you try to leave the room, and the door is locked. So the door locks behind you, and then the room starts to change. Like the environment of the room starts to change, and all this this weird stuff starts crawling up. Like you don't see it in the room itself, but you see it in the mirror. Like all this stuff in the room starts is crawling up your body, and it deforms Heather and turns her into this nightmarish monster looking creature. Like it's this deformed version of herself. It's just really freaky. And then the door opens again and you can leave. But that was probably the scariest part of the whole game, just because of how disturbing it was. But moving to number 1, I believe the creepiest part of, maybe not any game I've ever played, but this is definitely up there, would be the Attack of the Fishmen part of Call of Cthulhu: Dark Corners of the Earth. I know Reapers might know what I'm talking about here. Because he has played that recently.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, that is when you're being chased by. So let me give some context for this. You go into a town called Innsmouth, and Innsmouth is full of fish people, or people who are very weird. You don't know that they're fish people exactly, but you know they're strange, and they don't like you, and they don't want you in their town. And you're trying to investigate this guy's disappearance and seeing if anybody knows anything about him. So you get a room for the night in a hotel. You go around the town, and then after maybe I want to say about an hour of gameplay, you go back to the room and you try to go to sleep. But before you go to sleep, you barricade and lock some of the doors because you're afraid of what might happen. And during the night, these people try to come and break into your room. It's pretty much the entire town is after you. So you wake up and all of a sudden they're trying to barge in and they're trying to break your door down. So you have to try to get out of the room, jump out the window, and some of these guys will be shooting at you. So in the game, you can be shot and you have to heal yourself, but you have to run away from these people and try to hide. And the whole segment, there's just this really long segment of you trying to get away from all these crazy fish people who are trying to kill you. And I just thought it was a really tense segment in the game because you're trying to sneak around these people. You're trying to run away from them if they spot you. And it's just really tense because at that point in the game, you have no way of defending yourself. So I thought that was the creepiest moment of that I can come up with off the top of my head.
Alrighty, and then I think Reapers is the last person to go.
All right. I'm gonna start off super strong, and everybody's gonna be like, I don't know. Number 5 would have to be Silent Hill Downpour. I know it's a kind of shitty game, but there is that one scene that I really enjoy. You go inside this random house, and there's a story about a woman that's like afraid of her mirror. Basically, it's a puzzle where you have to like do whatever. Like if you look in the mirror. Some things in the mirror are different from what's really there. So what you gotta do is look in the mirror and see what's different, and then change it in the real life thing to make it look like what it does in the mirror. Once you do that, the mirror breaks, and then behind you there's like a shadow of the woman that was going crazy. She hung herself, and it's creepy to me because the game is so bad you don't expect like a random good creepy thing to be in there. So that kind of got me when I played it. Number 4 would have to be Condemned, the mannequins. There's this running thing with Condemned where there's these mannequins that wear suits. Every time you see them and look away, they're usually following you.
Yeah,
I
they're awful.
forgot about those. Yeah. Dude,
So
that was fucking... Oh, that was creepy. Yeah, you're right. I should have put that in there. But yeah, that's good.
Yeah, there's this one part where you have to go inside this room and there's a mannequin there. Outside of the room, you go in there, You try to leave, and the mannequin's standing right in front of the door to leave. You look behind you, and then there's a mannequin behind you. And you look behind you again, and there's like 5 of them in front of you. And yeah, then later on they just disappear. And then
That's a big nope.
there's another scene where I think it's in Condemned 2 where you fall into this pit, and you look up, and all the mannequins are looking at you from up above.
Yeah. I was gonna mention real quick. There was a part I thought you were gonna talk about this, but there's a level in the first Condemned where you go into like a clothing store or something.
Oh yeah.
And there's these dudes. They look like mannequins, but they're people, and they're like dressed in the just suits or something. I think if I remember correctly, and they'll come after you. You think they're not real, but they actually try to. They start moving and try to come after you, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, that show's fucking good.
Yeah, that was another just really weird thing in Condemned.
You know, for a launch game for the Xbox 360, it's a really good game.
Yeah, it's a great game. I wish they would make a Condemned 3, but it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah, good one. But my number 3 would have to be Fear, the game Fear, the first one. There is a scene where you're trying to go into this little area that's kind of dark. There's like a health extension thing. There's like a little syringe thing to give you more health. If you go in there, you can see Alma's shadow runs behind you. That shit creeped me the fuck out when I played it the first time. Number 2 would have to be BioShock. When you do the, I don't know if you guys remember this character, Cohen? Dude with the mask, the flamboyant guy that you have to fight.
Sounds familiar.
Basically, he has like a bunch of sculptures of people that are like covered in wax and shit. I don't know. You can't really tell if they're real people, but if you hit them with your wrench, like they start to bleed.
Ooh.
But there's a room in the middle of the map. If you go down, it's a bathroom. All the music that plays like stops, and there's like 3 mannequins with like black bags on top of their heads, and they're doing like ballerina poses. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there for you to grab. It's not a secret. You don't get an achievement for it, but it's just there for some reason, and it's really weird because it's really quiet. And the first one, of course, would have to be PT, because that's a really good game.
Demo.
Yeah. But my favorite part for that is when everything's all red and you're trying to go through the door again, and then something breaks, like somebody drops something from the top of the room, and you look up and it's just Lisa there staring at you. And then she's
yeah. Because I was gonna say there's another part of it's red. There's another part in that demo where it's red, and the hallway is much longer because of the way that it loops, and it's like sped through. But yeah, I forgot there's also that part where she does drop something from the second floor. Although I don't know, because sometimes the color of the light changes too. I don't know if that's always if it's red or if it changes depending on.
That's weird. It does like blue and green. I know there's this really good part. If when you have the flashlight, if you position yourself in a certain way, try to see your shadow, you see Lisa's shadows like right behind you, like the whole time, like her head's like twitching.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really good.
Oh, also I forgot to mention, but real quick, speaking of mannequins, I was trying to think of like other scenes in Silent Hill 3 that were really scary, but I can't believe I forgot about this. There's the scene in that one room with the fucking mannequin. You go into this room and there's a mannequin, and you look at the mannequin and you get Heather to examine the mannequin. I forget what she says about it, but she examines the mannequin. You walk away from the mannequin and you hear a loud, shrill scream, and then you go back and the mannequin like had its head cut off or something and it's starting to bleed.
Oh,
yeah. Something like that happened in like there was a scene like that in Silent Hill 2 as well, I believe. Like when you go into a bathroom and you hear like a woman scream or something, and like
the hand is gone.
Yeah. Yeah. The hand was gone. Yeah.
No, the head. The head.
The
like,
head. Yeah, the head.
Yeah, the head like went to the floor, and it's like, what the fuck just happened here? So the mannequins are just creepy in general in Silent Hill. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Honorable mentions, Mr. Renegade Operative. He's pretty scary.
Man. Yeah, you scare. Yeah, you scare children on the side of the street.
Well, actually, honorable mentions, jokes aside, but I'd like to say that the doll from the original, or not original, but the port to Xbox for Onimusha, Genma Onimusha, the first encounter with the doll is really creepy because the doll like falls down from whatever it's like sitting up top, and it looks like an average doll until Seminosuke picks it up, and then it like gets out of his hands. Pulls out like 3 large blades in each hand, and its face is like all like creepy and like it pulls out. It has like sharp teeth and it looks very pale and whatnot. So yeah, I would say that particular monster is somewhat creepy.
Hi,
damn,
I'm Chucky.
speaking-
Want to play? No.
Speaking of dolls, actually, I forgot something too. In Fatal Frame 5, there are these Shrine Maiden dolls. And it's just a house full of dolls, though. Like, there's one level that has a house that's just full of dolls, and I find dolls just kind of creepy. But the house is just full of these fucking Shrine Maiden dolls, and you'll go into a room, and the dolls will be standing in one place, and then you'll go out of the room, and then you'll go back in, and then they'll be in different locations. Like, they'll change places, and some of them will will kind of block you. And some of the Shrine Maiden dolls will actually try to attack you, while some of them will not, and they'll just be dolls and they'll just stand there. So it's like you never know. So it's always just kind of, you're always on edge when you're in that level. So I should have mentioned that one too. That was kind of freaky.
Hold on a second. I think I have one. Like I said, Lisa from Silent Hills PT. She was fucking creepy, man. All those segments where she was shaking around, the part where she closes the door and you see her face, you get a good look.
Oh, in the bathroom where you zoom in on the door and she just pops up.
She's in the mirror.
Yeah, she's not only in the mirror, but she was in that. She had the shadow like near the bathtub as well. That shit creeped me the fuck out.
Dude, no, I thought the mirror was creepier because she's like she's right there. She's right on your shoulder. Her head's like fucking shaking around and everything. Is like,
I think it was just you know those moments where you don't pay attention to something the first time. I didn't notice her shadow was in the bathroom until I actually did like a second playthrough of it.
And that too. There's this really good thing, scary thing that happened in PT that fucking I'll be scarred for life, and I think you guys will be too. But they announced that shit got canceled. I was fucking afraid.
Yeah.
I was terrified, man.
Where were you when they announced that they were canceling that
Exactly.
project?
There was actually
Kojima was right. He was gonna make you shit your pants.
I survived it.
There was a piece of footage for that game, and I know we're diverging, but where like Norman's character goes through like what looks like a school, and there's a kid's head that falls.
Nope. Nope.
Yeah, that falls down in front of this doorway, and it turns over, and there's like a centipede crawling over the face.
I remember that.
No.
You're talking about like the pre-rendered trailer thing, right? The one where he's being chased.
He's being chased by like a larger monster, I think.
Yeah, like that. Somebody grabs a head, and the head's like screaming at him, and the centipede or something crawls out of his mouth, and it's all this weird shit. Yeah.
Good fucking god, that would have been fucking creepy.
Yep, no, thank you.
Yeah, like I said, Junji Ito. He's got some fucked up ideas.
Yeah, that man was great. He was the best creature designer
We'll
they could
never
have.
see what a game with him involved is gonna fucking look like.
Yeah, fuck you, Konami.
Because he has some sorry, I'm diverging a little bit more, but he has some fucking creepy ideas. One of his manga is about a town that is being haunted by these fucking people, like balloon head people or some shit. Like literally, their heads are these like just floating heads, and they're like just like fucking harassing people, and it's just so weird. He's fucking crazy.
Isn't there another one where there's like a town that is actually like a maze or something, and it's really hard to get out of?
Are you thinking of Uzumaki, or because Uzumaki is about the spiral?
Maybe. I just remember there was like a town or whatever, one of those.
Yeah, you might be thinking of the spiral. Uzumaki is just about like people in the small town being obsessed with the spiral.
Maybe. I just remember there was like a maze.
He did a lot of like short stories.
There was something involving a town and where
I think the creepiest one I've read was, I don't know if anybody's read it, but it's called like something, the Amagara Fault, and it's like it's about people having the shapes of themselves carved into the side of a mountain, and they want to go into the shapes that are carved in themselves, like kind of they have this urge to go in there. So when they approach the shapes, they'll be like, oh, it's my hole. So they like they just start undressing, and then they just almost like float into it, sort of, and they're just stuck. They're stuck. It's like a fucking claustrophobic nightmare almost. It's just, I read that and I was like, oh my god, because you see a picture of them and they're just stuck in the fucking mountain, and they're like, help, and they're just stuck in there. It's like they can't get out, and it's so fucking disturbing to me. Like that was like, I was just like, oh my god, that's fucked up. But that scared me the most out of anything he's done.
So I think that was a pretty good discussion. Are there any more honorable mentions before we close off for tonight?
Nah, Dreamcast controller is pretty scary, but that's a joke.
Different podcast.
We'll talk about controllers on the first.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that part of BioShock. That's yeah.
That was a good one. They would just suddenly start walking and they attacked you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's a good point to start closing off. So, my name is biodevil_Dom. You guys can find me on Twitter and on YouTube under that name, and then on Twitch it's Dom241996. And I'm gonna have Ren go first, and then we'll kind of work our way from there.
All right.
Where can we find you?
All right. So you can find me on Twitter at RenOperative_. You can find me on YouTube at Renegade Operative. I'm working on this Manhunt playthrough, but it's a pain in the ass, so gonna try to get that out as soon as possible. So yeah.
Yep. Up next is Scarberry. Where can we find you?
I can be found on YouTube and VidMe now under the name Scarberry, and I'm also on Twitter and Instagram as the Scarberry, and it's also the Scarberry on Twitch.
Alrighty. Up next is Captain Chaos. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Captain Chaos, and you can find me on YouTube at the same name, but there is a space in between Captain and Chaos. Mostly do Let's Plays, reviews, stuff like that. So yeah, if you're interested in that, check me out.
All right.
And you can also find me on here.
Yep. Up next is Mr. Brandon. Where can we find you?
On Twitter and YouTube at RKMagic514. And once again, I'm Blacker than Renegade.
And last but not least, Mr. Reapers. Where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch at Reapers240. I occasionally do stuff without using a Dreamcast controller.
Yeah. See, Reapers really needs to be on that controller discussion, because me and him are going to go ham on roasting the Dreamcast controller.
Oh, there's much worse.
Defensive.
Yeah, there's much worse.
N64
It's not as
controller.
bad as the N64 controller. if
Controllers.
you like the Dreamcast controller over that, you can eat a dick.
But what about the Power Glove, guys?
Power
Oh,
Glove
yeah,
is
so
geez.
bad.
The best thing Nintendo's made.
Oh,
So
We,
bad.
you know, we should do a cinematic experience of the Wizard.
Oh,
my
yes,
no.
we should.
California.
Classic.
California.
California.
God damn it.
God. Weirdo.
Anyway, this
Let's
has
end this
been
podcast.
another great Let's Reminisce podcast. You
Don't
can-
destroy-
See, I've fucked up the intro. I'm gonna fuck up the ending too.
No, he's plugging you, Ren.
What is this, Brandon?
Ren-
What,
that
The
Power
Reminisce.
what is
What's
this about?
Reminisce?
Power gloves and hand jobs? Man, end this podcast.
It's power hand job.
End it. Pull the plug. Do it now.
Yeah, dude.
Scratch the tape.